Madcap Music Review, and we are here with the one and only Jonny Two Bags. How you doing, brother?
Hi, good. Thank you.
All right. Well, it is April 1st. I'm good. April 1st, and your new album's just dropped right here.
Yep.
Salvation Town, and
finally.
how was the process working on that? And you've got some stellar musicians. I mean, good Lord, Jackson Browne, Pete Thomas, and Elvis Costello.
Park, right there, Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know that the Abbey, that building right there off of it's Fig and.
That was off his second album, For Everyman. You put those on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Jackson record.
Is it? Okay.
So great. The process for this was interesting in that every record I've ever done before this with other bands has been the band, someone, we learn the songs, the people who contribute their songs, and the band learns them, we work out the arrangements, we get everything together, and then we go in, and a lot of times we'll even play them live, a few times or a bunch, and then we end up in the studio where we might do a demo, or just go in and start recording, but in any case, the songs are usually pretty much ready to go. They're pretty much finished, and before you even hit record, you have an idea of what it's going to sound like. In this case, I had a bunch of songs that I had written by myself on an acoustic guitar, and I hadn't had a chance to work them up with the band, with other musicians. So a lot of these songs started out with me at the studio with a click track, a metronome.
Right, yeah.
I just laid down a guitar track and sang the vocal on an acoustic or sometimes on an electric guitar, and then come back and there was drums there, so I could sit down at the kit and I can play. I'm not a good drummer, but
keep a rhythm going.
Yeah, I can play some beat. So I just put down try to get like I want to do like this feel, and. Let's try it as a waltz or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. Try some different stuff, and then the same thing with bass, and then kind of go from there. Like a lot of times Pete would come down after we had an idea of what it was going to be, and if we had a couple songs, we'd call Pete up, and he'd come down, and we would start over. Most of the time he'd hear what we had and go, okay, and then we just kind of work it out.
Right.
So. And then go from there, build from there, bass tracks or whoever's going to play organ or electric guitar, slide guitar, pedal steel, whatever. And I found myself having to try to think as many steps ahead of this as possible so that I could have some kind of an idea of what the result would be, And oftentimes I would have something in mind that I wanted it to shape up as, and I would find it going in a different direction, or finding that the idea that I had wasn't really working, like it's just not what I thought it would be, which is difficult because you tend to want to hold on to these ideas.
Sure.
It's hard to let them go, and I think as a songwriter, I think every songwriter has that, finds that difficulty along the way at some point.
Absolutely. Ghosts has this amazing, almost like Irish pub vibe. Like you almost feel like you're walking into Killarney. Yeah. And it's almost like a bit of a murder ballad, but you're singing it about yourself.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely was going after that murder ballad, mountain ballad kind of a thing, like that riff. I wrote the song. The song was really written around that riff that's in the breaks.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting the verses together, I just sort of vamped on the, on the one chord and in between the.
It's haunting. It reminds me of Tom Petty does this live version of the song called Melinda, and it's got a vibe like that on it. It's just fabulous.
Yeah.
And there's such an interesting contrast between the sound and the lyrics. The sound is, to me, it's reminiscent of like what was coming out of Laurel Canyon in the 70s. You had like Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Jackson Browne, Zappa, all these legendary people up there. But then there's this darkness. It's like the canyon meets the streets. You've got songs like Avenues, right? Take a Wet One to Your Head, which obviously that's PCP, and your heart turns into lead, and it just makes you imagine the 110 freeway and just back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s, what it was like.
That's a trip because that's a song that almost didn't make the record.
Really?
And the reason being is that I hadn't finished the lyrics. I went in and we got the basic track for that song down, and it came together really well.
Mm-hmm.
Davey Farragher, the other part of Pete's rhythm section with Elvis Costello, played bass, and it just was sounding really great. And I had like what we call a working lyric idea, which is kind of like something that you just hum or mumble or something to shape up the song, you know, to just to kind of kick your imagination in.
Keeps the flow and the rhythm going
while you're writing. So I had these sort of working lyrics, and I was trying to make that work. I was trying to base the idea to finish the lyrics off of this idea that I had. And Dave Kalish, who played B3 organ tonight.
Oh man, that was phenomenal. The Hammond.
He called me on it, man, and he goes, "Dude, these lyrics aren't happening, man." And I go, "God, you just busted me." Like, I was actually, you know, kind of just being lazy, I guess. You know, it's like, you know, the record was like, you know, everything else was almost done, and I was like, "Oh, this is the idea." Like, I just didn't really put any energy into like, well, there's got to be a better idea than this. And I don't even remember what it was, you know, but it was just some stupid idea, you know, and he kind of made me take a look at it. So I went home that night, man, and I was like, well, I really like the feel of this song. I don't want this to not make the record. So I went back and I grabbed a pen and some paper, and I was just sitting there in my living room, and I had written a couple of different ideas down, and it wasn't really happening, and I started to, to shape up some kind of an image in my head about stuff, and started thinking about, there's a lot of coyotes and stuff over there, and started and all of a sudden my mind kind of went to just the neighborhood, over there, and I'm not even kidding, man. When I wrote the first line of what became the chorus, when I wrote, when the sirens wail and the dogs begin to howl,
right.
A cop car with the sirens screaming blasted down the road near my house, and all the dogs in the neighborhood started
no way.
howling. And it was like,
wow.
I had written the line, and it happened almost immediately after.
Wow.
It was mind-blowing.
That's really cool. That's like divine intervention right there.
And I was like, whoa, man. And so I ended up finishing the song that night, and I just ended up going, okay, well, I'm just going to write it about the neighborhood over here, you know what I mean?
The imagery is so strong. I mean, the houses with the fences around them that used to be for living, and now people are selling dope out of them, and the balloons.
Well, that line is actually about the Abbey, that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called, the place where For Every Man was.
Yeah.
It's like,
Jackson Browne's second album.
There's a big fence around it, and it was featured. They used it actually in that one season of Dexter.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, I don't know if you watched all those.
No, I didn't catch it.
So anyway, but yeah, so that's kind of what that's about. It's built for every man. It's a total homage to Jackson.
Yeah, big time. Well, and shoot, he sings on "Then You Stand Alone," which opens up with a bit of almost like an Eaglesy vibe, almost like a Take It Easy for just like a couple of seconds, which was on his second album.
Yeah.
How did that collaboration come about?
Well, it happened because that song, I had originally recorded that. That's the oldest song on the record.
Then You Stand Alone?
I wrote that right when I joined Social D.
So wow, so this is like 2000.
Yeah.
Wow, that old?
I've had some of these are pretty old. One Foot in the Gutter might be about 5 or 6 years old or something. Avenues is real recent. Then You Stand Alone is 2000. Clay Wheels, Forlorn Walls. Actually, Forlorn Walls is around the same time as Then You Stand Alone. Clay Wheels is sometime in between then and now.
Sure.
Wayward Cane's more recent. Ghost is more recent. Hope Dies Hard and Alone Tonight were right before we went in the studio. So yeah, they come from these tunes definitely span a significant time
over a decade.
Yeah, but so anyway, then You Stand Alone. I had done a version with Chip Hanna, who plays drums in the U.S. Bombs. Mm-hmm. Him and I just had gone in the studio just together. And,
right.
We did it, and I played guitar and bass and sang. It was just a straight ahead, more of a punk rock and roll kind of thing. Same tune, same lyrics, same arrangement, same everything except for the instrumentation and like the vibe and the feel of the song, tempo or whatever. So I wanted to bring that onto this record, and of course I wanted to record it, and so that it would fit the vibe of what we were doing with this, and that's really what happened with it. And as that song was starting to shape up in the studio, Kalish and I looked at each other one day, and I go, man, this could almost be a Jackson Browne tune. And he's like, yeah, it really could, you know. And so just kind of laughed about it or whatever. Of course, I thought it was cool, you know, because I'm a huge fan. So
Sure.
it wasn't too long after that Kalish mentioned to me that he had to go somewhere. I think he went to jam with some people, or he went to do something, and he told me that Jackson was going to be around there. And I go, hey man, why don't you ask Jackson to come down and sing harmony on that song?
Oh, wow.
And I was saying it like,
And you've got his guitar player on there too, David.
well, this is before David was on.
Oh, was it?
At
Okay.
that point, Jeff Young, his keyboard player, had already played on the track. So that's kind of the connection, right?
Right.
But when I said that about Jackson, I wasn't being serious, man. I was joking. I was like thinking like, yeah, that's next to impossible. But I just said it anyway, like, wonk, wonk, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and he was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. And the next day he called me and he had asked Jackson, and Jackson was down to come sing on it. And I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Right? And I was like, amazing. So it took a couple of weeks, and then he eventually had time to come in and did it. And, you know, and it was obviously super awesome, man. And then not too long after that, Lindley came in. You know what I mean? So Lindley's on a bunch of tracks on here.
Yeah, and he's played with everyone. Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah. Oh, he
and
is just the guy, man. He's
Yeah.
the man for sure.
Was it nerve-wracking when Browne first came into the studio? Like, were you like, oh, Jesus, I got to show him the song
I was
now?
tripping out, man. I was down in San Diego at the shop where Adam, who makes satellite amps, which is the amps I use, where he was at. I was down hanging out with Adam. It was a Sunday, and Dave called me and goes, hey, Jackson just hit me up, and he's got time like this afternoon, so you should get back to L.A. So I jumped in the car and got on the freeway and came back to L.A. And I got to the studio before Jackson, and I was actually writing out the lyrics when he showed up, you know, for him to look at. And, you know, I mean, I wasn't nervous for long because the guy is such good people, and he's so personable that you don't even, like, there's no...
You forget it's Jackson Browne.
Yeah,
it's
there's
like,
no, you know, he doesn't create that kind of energy, so it doesn't exist, you know.
Right
So,
on.
yeah, he's a really, really just a sweet person, man. And everything you want him to be or think that he's been about, it's all, you know, true. I mean, that's who he is, you know. He's really cool.
That's cool. Now, the lyrics on this, I mean, I'm assuming it seems like it's fairly autobiographical, and there's a darkness but there's a hope throughout.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's kind of why I felt like this concept for the cover art and the title of Salvation Town for the record, it just all seemed to work because, yeah, I mean, these are songs that the messages stem from a dark place, but, you know, initially I think that there's, you know, some sort of form of salvation, you know, at the end of it. And most of them are you know, I mean, Clay Wheels is kind of about me, but it's also kind of about somebody I know that's, you know, the song really kind of does a good job of describing his situation.
It's a cool metaphor. You think of those old clay skateboard wheels, right? And they'd always get stuck in cracks.
Oh, yeah, man. It's just like my first skateboard when I was 6, I got a Black Knight.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like you think about getting stuck and people are moving on to the polyurethane wheels or whatever it is, and you're still riding them old clay wheels.
I remember when this kid that we lived in this apartment behind this house, and the kid that lived in the house in front showed up one day with Road Riders on his
oh, wow.
And I was like, damn, what? And then, you know, it had the encased precision bearings and the big polyurethane wheels, and I was just blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but then again, you know, like Wayward Cane is, I mean, even if I look to other people for ideas too. It's like, just, you know, just because it might sort of sound like I'm singing about my own experience, I'm not always, you know.
Just kind of observing what's around you and taking bits and pieces.
Then You Stand Alone is just about, you know, the stuff you see up in L.A. and, you know, all the different, you know.
You've got that imagery of the 101 and the cross.
Yeah,
and,
you know that cross. Right?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to write a song about that, man. And I just would drive by it all the time at night when I'd see that. But that's just amazing because of the fact that it would just be up on that hill looking out over that crazy town.
Yeah.
And all the different stuff that was going on. And then the people that live up in the hills in those big houses and the people that work in the film industry and all that craziness that comes with that. And I just thought, this is just a crazy place, you know. And
Absolutely.
here's this glowing cross up there, man. It's like, you know.
And you're born in Oceanside, but raised primarily in Costa Mesa.
Yeah, we moved around a lot, but I was born in Oceanside. My father was born on Camp Pendleton.
Oh, okay.
And, my dad was a musician, and so we did a certain amount of, I didn't like tour with him or anything. He didn't do a lot of touring, but he did get gigs in different areas, you know, and so we moved all over OC. There was a period of time when I was in grade school where we lived up in like Mammoth.
Okay.
You know, because you would get gigs up there, and I think I spent like about a year as a little kid in Tahoe, you know.
Oh, right on.
But mostly, you know, Costa Mesa throughout all my teen years and everything.
There seems to be such a distinct LA vibe, though, to this album, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I wanted the picture to be like...
You got the old lowrider, you know, and there's the fence with the hoses.
But I wanted it to be like, this could be, you know, we could be out looking out over, like, you know, Santa Monica and Venice. Or you could be looking out from San Clemente.
True, yeah. Even Ocean and Long Beach, looking out at the islands.
What I mean? Like,
you know?
just all of it. Yeah, that's definitely Catalina, but I wanted it to be kind of like any town, Southern California. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be specifically.
Just that redemptive light. You know, we've all made our mistakes, but just trudging to get better.
Happened, you know, I mean, it all happened in California, and just so I guess, you know, it's my first record, and it's sort of like up to like you know, me up till now, the story of me up till this point or whatever.
Can you tell me?
Interesting to see where the next stuff goes, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about your signature Echo Park guitar?
Oh yeah, for sure. Gabriel Curry is the owner and the luthier of Echo Park, and yeah, I mean, he's killing it right now. He is the most dedicated. His passion for what he does is you can't even, it's unsurpassed. I mean, he's pretty amazing. And the guitar, my model's cool. What we did was we put together we took the elements of like a junior, which I play, you know, old Les Paul juniors, and then like the body shape of more of like a Valco or a Supro.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a combination of basically those two guitars, you know, and it's mostly like a junior, really. I mean, it's just the only difference in it is the cutaway shape really is more of that of a Valco or something. But
sure,
you know, it's got the neck pitch of a junior, the big neck. You know, single P90 wraparound bridge and everything, but yeah, they're cool guitars, man. You know, he picks very toneful wood, and a lot of the times he makes guitars out of real old wood that he hunts down.
It gives it a unique sound.
He's been doing great, man. He's got like Joe Perry's been playing his stuff.
Oh,
Jackson's he's been hanging out with Jackson and doing stuff with Jackson. Who else? I mean, just a whole bunch of players. I can't think of anybody else just offhand, but yeah, people are very interested in this stuff right now.
That's great.
And he deserves it, man. I mean, he works so hard, and he's really put everything into that.
And you'll be heading out, in a day and a half on April 3rd with Chuck Reagan.
Reagan and the White Buffalo.
Doing a tour.
Insane, yeah.
And you wrap it all back here May 9th at the Fonda, which is an amazing venue.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the tour and the whole thing. I've never done this before. This is all really new, you know. Even what you saw today, I mean, we've played a bunch of shows at this point, but it's still, I get up there and I'm like, what am I doing? I have however many years of being like a sideman in bands before.
Right, Cadillac Tramp, Social D.
So it's interesting.
It was cool for me to actually get the album today, listen to it, and then come and hear a good portion of it live. That was a really interesting experience.
Yeah, it's cool that you got to see us, you know, with Pete and everything.
Oh, yeah.
We always do it. And, you know, Hidalgo plays drums with us most of the time.
Yeah, for Los Lobos.
He's doing both. Not senior.
Oh, his son, junior.
Yeah.
Okay.
He plays with Social D, and he's
That's
playing,
right.
He's doing double duty on this tour. He's going to play with my band, and then he's going to play with Chuck. He recorded with Chuck.
Oh, wow.
On the new record. Yeah, till midnight.
Wow, that's rough. He's pulling a Gary Holt, like when Slayer and Exodus are touring right now. So.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, very good. Did you plan on this to drop on April Fools, or did it just kind of happen like
That's
that?
why I was making cracks about it. I was like, April Fools, what are you trying to say? And then I mean, it's funny. I'm a bummer. The poster of the guy walking off the cliff.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Well, you've gotten some really nice write-ups, too. Wall Street Journal, Rolling Stone.
Oh,
like,
my
people
God,
are noticing.
Man, I know. I'm tripping. It's like, what? I just never would have expected any of that. So.
Yeah, you open up the Wall Street Journal and boom, Johnny Two Bags.
Happy, man. I mean, really, I feel super fortunate that all this has been happening. And
Right
people
on.
are taking notice and everything. It's cool.
But where's a good place people can find you that want to keep track of you online, catch up with tour dates?
I do Instagram, Johnny Two Bags. I think 2 instead of
the number
spelled out. And then I have a Facebook, that I do, and a little bit of Twitter.
The Twitter, yeah. And you got your website?
This is all that stuff's new to me. I've only been doing any of that for maybe 2 years. A friend of mine forced me into it and built me a Facebook page a couple of years ago. Because if you would have asked me if I was going to do any of that 3 years ago, I would have been like, no way.
Right.
I was not on Facebook, so. I got on MySpace for a minute, right at the tail end of it.
Oh, right before it just turned into a wasteland.
And I didn't join Facebook, so.
And then your website, www.johnnytwobags.com.
Yeah.
Well, right on, brother. Thanks for taking the time with us.
Yeah, thank you, man, for taking the time as well.
And thanks to Fingerprints for having this amazing gig.
Everybody here has been great, man, and French and Chris and sound, I forget his name, but man, he was fantastic, man.
Right
All my
on.
friends I had friends here that are sound guys, and they were like, man, that guy nailed it,
So. Yeah, it sounded amazing. Well, good luck on the tour, and
thank you.
We're looking forward to seeing you at the Fonda
Right on.
when you come on back.
Right on.
All right.